Welcome to issue 276 of Critical Encounters, the podcast about Marvel Champions, a living card game by Fantasy Flight Games. Here, we take a good look at the most critical piece of the game, the encounter sets. We'll discuss those poorly understood fellas, unfairly labeled villains, and their various plans to shape humanity and benefit the planet, as well as those so-called heroes intent on thwarting them. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, and with me tonight is Steve.
Well, hello, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you on. We're working our way through your minion time here in the lair, and it's been a delight.
Yeah, I'm kind of just feeling myself in. You know, I'm starting to hit my groove. Feel like I'm ready to do a bunch more of these. I'm sure there's a ton more waiting for me after these last couple.
Oh, we'll see.
Yeah.
That's right.
Also here is the immaculate Daniel.
The immaculate. Thank you, Josh. What a delight to have you back in the lair for, I think, Steve, it's got to be his last time, right? Like it's...
Nope. There's at least one more.
Okay. Oh,
There's
good. I'm so glad because It's been so wonderful to have you in that seat.
I've gotten most of the stains out of my pants from the first time. So I can wear those again pretty soon.
And I'm
glad you've added
I'm glad you've added a few new to the chair of your own. So.
Oh yeah. All
Um,
that genetic material from the prelate.
Hey, no, it's not one of those nights.
We'll see about that, won't we?
We're gonna death and destruction tonight.
It's gonna be one of those nights.
Steve, let me be the first to apologize for 2 weeks ago when Josh was here and what he did to me.
Apologize for me, Daniel. Go for it.
At the very end, Josh accused me of being in a malaise. I actually blame it on I had just come from my book club and maybe some wine.
Was Mustafa in the book club?
No.
Was it the one that he complained about not being in that one time?
Yes, it is that
okay.
one. Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm glad to know he's not in it.
It's the exclusionary book club.
Okay, cool. Good.
The next time there's a book club, maybe you should have him on because I apologize.
I personally would not want to be a part of a club that would have me in
it. All right, Twain. All right, so Steve.
Yes.
You have something to ask me?
Yes. Daniel, what's on your mind tonight?
Steve, the contest. We've had a contest going for a long time to win the Shuri box.
Yeah.
And not any Shuri box.
Let's give that thing away.
Shuri box.
Signed. That's right. Signed by moi.
It's time. I mean, we've got dozens and dozens and heaps upon dozens of entrants. It's time to just read our top handful or so and get to it.
All kinds of people can't wait to get their hands inside that Shuri box.
We each picked 3.
We can't take them anywhere, Steve.
No, you can't.
There's just nothing you won't do.
I apologize to any folks who have young children who listen to this show.
And anyone named Shuri.
Yeah.
But Steve's been there first.
Wow. He merely signed it.
So what we're going to do is I'm just going to keep going. I don't know how to respond some of the time.
No, Steve, you really do have to, with Josh around, just fight through it.
Right.
Power through, buddy. Lower your head and keep driving.
We're going to read. We're each going to read 3 different entrants.
Okay.
Then we're going to randomly choose from among these 9.
And these are the top 9 of like
top
100.
9. Yep. Yeah. And then and then we'll figure out who won. So we'll just randomly choose, and two of these entries are just for fun, so there won't be entered. So in the end, it'll be out of the 7 that
Okay. Sure.
Okay. Here we go. I'll go first. How's that sound?
Okay.
All right. So this person, and I have hidden the name, so nobody knows who they are. I didn't want to we don't want to skew our.
Sure.
I don't know. It's still random, but I don't want to skew anything. This person said, "I've never played a massive multiplayer scenario in Marvel Champions. So they must not have ever come to Con of Heroes. Come to Con of Heroes, you get to play one. But I think a giant group trying to stop the Scarlet Witch would be awesome. I'm just not sure how. LOL." So.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I like that. She would be a great one. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you think of like the Multiverse of Madness Doctor Strange 2 movie, like that kind of like, yeah, she's got a lot of options there. So, okay. All right. That's it. Nice and easy. Josh, give us one.
So I would press the Marvel Time Stuff button and teleport into the future where I have 1 to 3 friends who also play Marvel Champions and where reverse PIM particles are freely available at your local supermarket. I expect future people will call these devices embiggeners. And I would grab some embiggeners and the 1 to 3 friends and Time Stuff back to 2025. Then I'd slap the embiggeners onto myself and my 3 friends at our game table and cards, and whammo, massive multiplayer Marvel Champions.
Okay. Two things there. This was great. This is very funny. Josh, you sound a little different.
Well, I had something in my throat there, Steve. I cleared it up. That's all right. But I'll tell you what, if the embiggeners work, I've spent a pretty penny on devices such as the embiggeners in the past. And I'll tell you, if it works, I'll buy a dozen.
Now, I think this person misunderstood what a massive multiplayer Marvel Champions would be. It wasn't a massive Marvel Champions player.
But yet, that's why I kind of like this. And I liked how Josh read it, to be honest.
Yeah, I did too. Okay, that's a good one. I like that one. Yeah.
All right.
Daniel, your turn.
Yep.
I wish there was a DC crossover to get in the versus heroes game. You know, Batman would be my first choice, and maybe I should custom this idea. Don't you know?
Okay. Daniel's lapsed back into his Minnesotan days.
I liked it. I thought Daniel sounded very, very good.
Yeah.
There.
I was just trying to do a bit. That's all.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay,
yeah,
it's good.
You're good.
All right, DC, Batman, interesting. All right, cool.
So, what is it? So, DC crossover, get into a verse. Okay, so wait, Batman would be the villain in this case?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a versus, so maybe it's DC heroes versus Marvel heroes kind of thing.
Yeah,
and this person would play as Batman.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. So, like, kind of a one versus all kind of thing, like a
that'd be
Imperial
cool.
Assault, Steve.
Possibly.
Okay. I dig it.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, there's got to be another one for us to read.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So this is the one I would like to see a re-implementation of Secret Wars, but instead of the Beyonder bringing the heroes and villains to Battle World, he reaches across the multiverse to gather them into the Battleverse. This will have a full set of villainy identity cards, maybe 10 or 15 major villains.
Ooh.
For this scenario, that each table will randomly choose who they will fight. Okay. The villain powers will be similar to the release scenarios thus far. As each group of heroes wins, they make progress on the global main scheme to defeat the Beyonders' plan. That's pretty cool.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. And you could almost do this already with just scenarios, right? Like, ones that exist and you just need the Battleverse or the Beyonder Overlord part on top of all of these scenarios. That'd be cool.
All right. I like that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. All right, Josh, give us the next one.
Marvel Superhero Contest of Champions. Half the participants are on the Grandmaster side, and the other half is on the side of the unknown, later shown to be death. The winning side determines the fate of the collector, life or death. One faction can grief the other faction, send things between tables, and or choose to either make progress for their side or remove progress from the other side.
Oh my goodness. Oh. Wow, Josh, you sounding better than ever.
Josh, sometimes you go real deep into your woodsy thing.
Yeah. That was a little scary, but
wow.
I like it.
I mean, we've heard him do that. I mean, Steve, really, the guy's done like 37 of his Hill voices.
That's true. It's true.
Time. So
yeah.
I mean, here's just another one. Steve,
I like let's talk about the contest piece, like the hero contest. That's kind of cool. You actually have 2 separate groups, so maybe like massive multiplayer, half the tables are trying to win for one person and half are trying to win for the other. I like the idea of griefing or assisting. It's kind of cool.
I kind of like that. Like, so do you know what team you're on? You must.
Yeah, I would think you would know what team. Right? Maybe you get your table gets randomly assigned one of the whichever side it is. And
super cool.
Yeah.
Basically kind of a Civil War sort of.
Yeah. Like 20 tables versus another 20 tables or some players.
Oh my god, that would be so fun.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I hope this guy wins.
This person just
he
is doing
can't.
it for fun. Yeah.
Sorry. I'm sure it's Funky Monkey Monk.
Let's see. I can let us see that one. Oh, it's Maka. It's Maka.
Oh, sorry, Mika. Although I can't wait for Steve to make this scenario for you.
Oh, nah, he can do it himself. It's
Oh,
Maka.
I
He
guess
can do it.
right?
He can do
he
it.
knows
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah. He's good at this. All right, Daniel, give us another one of these things.
Oh, is it time for me, Daniel, to read one of these? Okay, I can't wait, Steve. Sure, golly, thanks. All right, Annihilation Wave. Whoo, boy. Annihilus is the big bad guy, and the hook is simply a massive number of minions, including Annihilus's 3 wives, who each have their own scheme, a deck of cosmic-powered heroes that are played as events, and new cards for the decks and some of the Guardians Era's heroes, you know. That's not a new aspect cards, but, new cards for their main deck, turning Drax into an equal parts schemer beater, Rocket into more of a strategic-minded character, etc., and so on and so forth. It's quite a hot dish of stuff going on there.
Hot dish! Woo! It's good. Wow, Daniel, that was excellently read. Excellently read.
Well, you're welcome, Steve. Oh, Steve, aside from the expertly read synopsis of this, what does it mean exactly? What is this person saying?
I think they're saying lots and lots of minions, and then some customization. I don't know who they are. I don't know who Annihilus really is. So
Annihilus from like the Negative Zone.
Yeah. I mean that part much I know, but
isn't he like a big Fantastic Four villain? Like he's the one that's got he's like the green and purple type deal with the big like robot bug demon thing.
You're gonna find out that Danny and I haven't read much of that stuff.
Oh yeah, Annihilus.
Well, what you're going to find out is Steve hasn't read much of that stuff. It was obvious I haven't.
Yeah,
that was his big thing, was the Annihilation Wave, right? Was him like kind of, I don't know, either bringing reality in the Negative Zone or coming out of the escaping the Negative Zone or something. He's one of the heavy hitters in Marvel.
Yeah,
it's actually kind of surprising that we haven't seen him either in the game or like in the MCU at all. Well,
we're getting a Fantastic Four movie, right, in the MCU, so maybe we'll see it moving forward.
I think he's Fantastic Four. He may not be, but I'm pretty sure.
Negative Zone makes me think of Mr. Fantastic. So
Steve, we've got to have. I mean, we had 100 entrants. We chose our top 9. Go ahead.
Okay, so here's another one. It's Dr. Doom. I would design the scenario around Doombots who are overseeing different schemes. Each table, 2 to 4 teams, would select one of several possible schemes and scenario side schemes to complete. Once one team at your table completes a side scheme, though, they'll have to hunker down and do their best to distract the forces of Doom while the other team catches up. There's no counters to track, but teams that have passed a checkpoint can take encounter cards on behalf of other teams at their table. Oh, that'd be neat. In addition to their own. While in the support mode, they will gain specific benefits from the side scheme. It'll flip with added bonuses on the backside that include increased hand size, generating resources, discounting allies, tutoring out an upgrade or support, etc. Then once all teams have completed the same side scheme level, think Hella or Apocalypse. Okay, so if everyone's progressed to the same spot, everyone reveals the next side scheme. So the last team won't get to use the benefits of completing the side scheme. Okay. Once all schemes are defeated, the Doombots are set aside, and each table will reveal their version of Doom along with a special modular set that gets shuffled into their encounter deck. Tables must now tackle all the Dooms, but can use Doom's multiverse portal to call for actions from any team at any table by paying the necessary costs.
So, Steve, is this kind of Kang-ish?
Yeah, well,
it seemed, or
yeah, a little bit like.
Walk me through how you would build this, Steve. You're a master builder.
Great.
Of these types of things. So, what would you?
Yeah, if you picture Kang, when you get split up, but instead of individually being split up, it's your whole table is split up from the other tables. Okay. And then you complete your section, and then you're getting a benefit and a bonus that you can use to assist the other table so they can hurry up and finish their thing, right? I think it's kind of like he said, Hella. So everybody's doing their first side scheme and they're defeating their first Doombot. We've defeated him. We've gotten our side scheme. So now we get a bonus to assist the other folks to catch up. And then, everybody's defeated level 1. Now we all move to level 2 together, and then on and on and on. I see. At the end, because the Doombots are like, if you don't know, Doombots are sort of like I'm going to call them robotic clones of Doom. So you don't know if it's really Doom or if it's a Doom bot. So you got to fight your way through all his fakes before you get to the real one. And then there you go. So it's kind of neat.
Well, that seems really cool, actually. So,
yeah, this one's well thought out. I like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, Josh, you got one left.
All right. I'll read it now. The Annihilation Wave. Annihilus is the main villain, and each table is defending a different sector of the galaxy, from the unyielding horde and a captain of the forces. The captain will be that table's villain, and defeating them allows you to push ahead. This can either be sending help to another sector of the galaxy through something like, I don't know, card draw or 2 damage to each enemy, or you can press ahead to put damage on Annihilus to close the portal to the negative zone. So losing a section of the galaxy will make the wave more focused on the other sectors, so working to keep other tables alive would be an important focus. And once Captain is defeated, Annihilus himself will engage you and escalate the fight in your sector, coming with the giant health pool shared between all the tables.
Okay, that's cool. I like the need to keep the other tables alive and doing well.
Yeah,
co-op between the tables is important here, or else if one sector falls, it makes it harder for everybody else. That's cool.
Yeah, I dig that. And this is like a galaxy-ish. That seems like Biggie.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I like
that. You could be like, have a section for the Kree and a section at Earth and a...
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And is that how Annihilus works? Is that the... I don't know much about...
I don't really know a lot about Annihilus myself.
I don't know much about Annihilus.
Surprise, surprise, folks.
Yeah.
No, actually, I don't really know a whole lot about that either, but Negative Zone and all that kind of thing. So I'm sure there's people out there who know more. Sure. If we ever get Annihilus villains, we'll have to do some reading.
Oh, gosh. Well, you know, I love reading.
You do.
I do. Well, Steve, I got another one to read.
Yes, you do. All right, Daniel, give us the last one.
Oh, whew. I'm more tickled than a kindergartner at a sleepover. All right. Enter Sandman. Epic encounter. The idea behind this one is that the Sandman's become epically powerful somehow. He's 10 times larger than before, and he set up shop in the middle of the largest intersection in the city. His sands are spreading up the streets to the north and the south and the east and the west and just all over, don't you know?
Well, that sounds like my last family reunion.
It sure does, Josh. It sure does. Heroes must band together to defeat him. Heroes are fighting in the streets. They're split into 4 large groups, symbolizing the fights in each of the 4 cardinal directions. When extremely shifted sands happens, one of the directions is randomly chosen, and that group of heroes is affected by the event. Heroes might be able to move between the different streets through some mechanism or whatever to help the other groups out.
Well, in the bowl, that sounds like fantastic.
It's a golly whopper of a scenario idea, I swear, Josh.
It does sound cool.
Sounds like it, Daniel.
Oh my goodness.
Sure does sound like it, man.
We've got some multiversal stuff going on here. Yeah, this sounds neat. Big, humongous Sandman, different sections. Sounds massive. Love it.
Well, let me ask you this, Steve. How on earth can any one of these 7, 9 awesome things win?
I want them all to win.
I do too. We want them all to win.
You heard it here. Steve's going to give everybody a signed Shuri pack.
Well, just the top winner. Don't let Josh.
Wait, hold on, Steve. What if you signed every card individually
and sent them out to random people?
5 to every one of these guys.
Don't even send them to the people that submitted. Pick random addresses and send a signed note. Probably name it something like, I hope you have the day you deserve, or like write something, ominous but friendly on it, and just send it to a random postal code.
Hang in there.
Yeah. If there's another villain out there who can maybe help me with these 2 yahoos, I could use some help. Okay. I'm outnumbered.
So what I hear you saying is you want one of these people. Okay.
One person is going to win, and one of the 2 of you is going to lose by the end of the night. Okay.
We're going to end up in the negative zone, Daniel.
That's right.
That's tough but fair. All right. Yeah. So how are we gonna figure it out? We're just gonna spin your little wheel.
Yeah, so 2 of these people did not want to be entered, so we have 7 entries. We need a random number between 1 and 7.
Okay. I have spun for you 5.
I did one on Google and I got a 5.
Hey, double 5.
Meant to be.
Sweet. It's the Doctor Doom scenario. Doctor Doom.
Oh, that was
that's a good one.
That's a really good one. Yeah. So that means our winner is, oh no, it's rigged. Lexicon.
No.
It's Scott. Congratulations, Scott.
Congratulations, Scott.
Yeah.
How has he not got this already?
I don't know. Yep. Hey, that's it. That's okay. He entered.
But he doesn't, and that's what it is.
That's fine. And we did not know who was who going into this. So congratulations, Lexicon. Awesome.
Wow. Congratulations, Scott. See you in the lair.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you pick it up the next time you're
He still
here?
doesn't live anywhere near us, so I'm gonna have to mail it to him. So
You know what? See, mail it to me, because he comes to DC often enough. We'll force him to come get it.
okay, we'll talk. We'll talk.
That'll show him. That'll be us being villainous.
If that's how we're gonna do it, he might as well just make the extra 4-hour drive up here and hang out with me. So then I can save myself postage completely. So, well, there's our contest, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody who submitted. We apologize to those who submitted and didn't win, but you know what? We're going to have another one for the Loki pack soon. So keep your eye open for that. I have some ideas to do how we're going to run that contest. And yeah, so there's always a chance to win more. And we have also got our hands on a few other items. So we're going to see if we can't give away some promo cards, some like OG promo kits.
Now, Steve.
Stuff like that.
Steve, I need to correct you a little bit. We're villains. We don't apologize to the losers.
Oh, yeah. Suck it up, losers.
Suck it up.
Is that better?
Everyone should demand if you didn't win, obviously it was scaled against you. You need to demand a recount. Write in and tell us why Steve rigged this for Scott.
That's true.
You're all a bunch of losers, and Scott is just the biggest one among you. How about that? How's that?
There you go.
Is that villainous enough?
That's pretty villainous.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to be a jerk or make people.
Congratulations on getting into Sherry's box, Scott.
Yes. All right. We have talked about this contest long enough. Let's move on to what we're gonna do. What are we gonna do? What are we doing?
That's usually the question I ask you.
Oh,
Steve, what are we gonna do tonight?
We are gonna look at the third scenario in the Age of Apocalypse box, which is Apocalypse. The self-titled track, I guess, from the Apocalypse box, Apocalypse. And Josh is going to give us all the lore on Ensabanur himself. So, I don't know. Let's do it.
I mean,
yeah, let's go.
All right. Alpaca lips. So alpacas have prehensile lips. So this means that they have the ability to grip and kind of maneuver items with them. Their upper lips are split, and they kind of use them to grasp, rotate, and manipulate stuff. And their lips allow them to
are those like the people that can do like a cherry stem in their tongue?
Well, they're kind of akin to like large. They look like mongoloid sheep, Daniel. Like if a giraffe and a sheep had some type of abomination coupling, then you would have the alpaca in its lips.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
So, I mean, there's all kinds of great things about alpaca lips, and I have prepared a solid 45 minutes.
Let's do it. Let's go. I just want to see how far you can go with this. Let's take it. Run with it.
Okay, so using their lips, male alpacas are able to make a sound that's it's called colloquially orgling, and this is what they do when they mate. It's kind of a sound like that, and it
wow, that was really good.
You know, when they orgle, yeah.
Okay.
What the hell is going on tonight?
That being
God, I hope, I really hope Craig caught that, because that was.
I heard it, so Craig heard it.
Brilliant. All right, go ahead.
And if you're ever wondering if your alpaca is happy, because I know men of a certain age often find it hard to tell if their alpaca's happy.
Josh.
Huh?
Not Apocalypse. Apocalypse.
Who's that?
Apocalypse.
What is that?
You mean like the end of the world?
Making that up.
That's the big blue purple guy you talked about having a giant belt buckle with the A on it last week.
Apocalypse. Oh,
Yeah.
Well, silly me. Color me embarrassed, fellas. Color me embarrassed.
Boy.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I know a little bit about him.
Cool. Let's talk about him instead of wherever you were going with that orgling.
100% positive we don't need the orgling. Because I can bring that back.
You know what? Disagree.
We'll think on that while you tell us about the other one.
All right. So Apocalypse, one of the heaviest hitters in the Marvel universe, one of the key villains and antagonists of the X-Men and all of their different iterations. Apocalypse is one of the most powerful mutants ever, if not the most powerful mutant ever. And in some bits of lore, he is the first mutant, the original. Now I want to talk about his abilities first, before we dive into who he is and where he comes from, because he just has this just massive plethora of stuff he can do, man. And unfortunately, orgling's not in him. But looking at him, he probably has prehensile lips.
You know that guy can orgle.
You know who's really good at orgling is the Sugar Man. So he has that prehensile tongue.
Anybody can orgle. Sugar Man can orgle. But Apocalypse has this just massive amount of stuff that he has up his sleeves, guys. He can shapeshift. He can teleport. He has superhuman strength, and that rivals like the Hulk and some of the strongest people in the MCU, or in the MCU, Lord, in the Marvel universe. He can absorb and project energy. He has resistance to telepathic attacks, which is super important when facing down the X-Men, right? Yeah. As many of those psionic turds as there are. And he even has like a limited use of telekinesis and telepathy himself. He is nearly invulnerable to any physical harm. And even when he does take damage or is destroyed, as in some cases, he has died and came back a lot, he has an extremely potent regenerative ability. And he has complete control over his body on like an atomic scale. He can alter his size, his density. He can adapt to disease, environment. He does not age. He doesn't need to eat or drink. He doesn't tire. He has immense, knowledge at his disposal, befitting a being that has been alive since the rise of the civilizations of ancient Egypt. He is just a powerhouse on the scene.
Yeah, impressive. Very,
very impressive. So I talked about him being alive since ancient Egypt. So that when Apocalypse first debuted, when he first came about, he had this slight cameo at the end of X Factor number 5 in June of 1986. And it was just kind of this picture of this, silhouetted in black villain with a clenched fist saying it's time for Apocalypse, or I'll see the apocalypse or shadow the apocalypse, or whatever he says there. He had a little catchphrase he yelled out. So swears Apocalypse. He said a bunch of stuff, and they said so swears Apocalypse because he's going to take down X Factor. So originally in that run, bit of trivia about this, and I thought it was neat. The Apocalypse, the character, came about because they swapped writers right after number 5, right after X Factor 5. So they Louise Simonson replaced Bob Layton as a writer for the books. And they couldn't use the villain they were wanting to use. So the X Factor was throwing down with Tower, who is a evil mutant, and Frenzy, they were in a team called the Alliance of Evil, which, they could have probably picked a better name. Right. Yeah. Right. Masters of Evil, Alliance of Evil,
Brotherhood of Evil.
Yeah. Brotherhood of Evil. The guys who get together on Wednesday when their wives are at knitting of evil, there's all kinds of different ones.
Right.
Croquet Club of Evil.
Bowling Team of Evil.
Yeah. So the Alliance of Evil had a kind of secret leader. It became apparent they were working for somebody. Tower and Frenzy were working for someone. And it was hinted at in X Factor number 5. And this was the first kind of introduction to the X Factor team when the X Factor team was being put together. And so in that final, like the final bit of that last page, you see this silhouetted villain. He does this monologue, so swears Apocalypse. And then next issue, the menace of Apocalypse. But originally, when Bob Layton was writing that, that was not going to be Apocalypse. Apocalypse was created specifically to fill the void of the villain that was going to be the leader of the Alliance of Evil. And that villain was going to be one that, I don't even know if we have a card for them in the game. It's he's one of Daredevil's rogues, the Owl.
Oh, we do not have the owl. Like OWL.
Yeah. OWL, yeah. So the Owl, who,
dramatically less impressive than Apocalypse turns out to be.
Oh my God, yeah, right? And so what they were going to have done, so Tower ends up in the run like capturing or hurting Beast somehow, and Beast gets subjected to these tests, either to save his life, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it ends up double mutating Beast. And he kind of gets his human form back, which we remember, like when Beast first came about, he had that kind of human form to him. He wasn't always the big furry blue fella.
Right.
And thanks to further mutation, he became that. Well, this reverted him there. And so what the plan was initially was for Owl to have underwent that same process and to have double mutated. And he would have been, as Layton put it, he said, in my story, we set it up to be kind of a gothic thriller. Al had been double mutated, much like what happened to Hank McCoy. However, the second mutation turned Al into this cannibalistic Nosferatu-like creature that only feeds on mutant flesh.
Okay. Yeah.
So we ended up not getting that because Layton got replaced, and we ended up getting Apocalypse. That's the one they kind of quick sketched up, and Simonson kind of fell in love with it. Everybody fell in love with the sketch and the design, and it ended up being the guy we know and love as Apocalypse. And you can even see it if you have read that X Factor number 5, because the full reveal of Apocalypse didn't come about until X Factor number 6, when you get like the full view of the magnificent villain that we now know as Apocalypse. In that last issue, it doesn't even really look like him. It was that kind of prototype.
Right. They do that a lot, where you kind of get a little bit peek at them, but not quite the whole thing.
Yeah. I just thought that was really cool. That the Owl that we could have got, and that we were just a reassignment away from never having one of the most infamous mutant antagonists of all time.
Yeah, that's what happens when they switch staff, right? So that's interesting.
All right, so let's talk about where Apocalypse comes from. So we know Apocalypse now has the true name Insabanur, right? He was born in ancient Egypt. He dates back to around 3000 BC. And he ended up being abandoned by his tribe as an infant because of his gray skin and the blue accents of his face, his blue lips and anything else, and as well as these kind of unusual markings that he had. He ended up being found and raised by Baal of the Sandstormers. And Baal kind of took to the child, not because he had this overwhelming sense of duty to save a young dying baby out in the desert, but because Baal kind of sensed the potential power and will of this kid. Baal is the one who named him Insabanur, which translates to the first one. And it's like a loose translation. It doesn't really translate to the first one. It translates to like the first light or something like that. But, we do some hand waving for continuity and realism for the sake of the first one being a cool translation. If we know anything about Apocalypse, he has grown. This is kind of where he got that creed, this survival of the fittest mantra that he goes by, where his whole goal is to purge the weak and to cultivate strength and evolutionary prowess and evolutionary perfection amongst the mutants. So no matter if you're mutant or human, which all humans he typically sees as weak and useless, loathsome. But that survival of the fittest creed comes from his time with the Sandstormers. That is where that seed was kind of planted, because that was their creed. We also see kind of around this time, he starts throwing, as he ages and becomes with the Sandstormers, he starts having run-ins with Rama Tut. We all know who Rama Tut is.
Dang.
Yep.
Right.
Our time traveling buddy, Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So Apocalypse is young at this time. So Rama Tut knows who in Sabanur is destined to become. And so he sends Ozymandias to destroy the Sandstormers and find Apocalypse. So in the kind of ensuing fight, Apocalypse and Baal, or in Sabanur and Baal or Baal, are injured. And before Baal dies, they run off. And before he dies, Baal reveals to Apocalypse this ancient technology that he had hidden away in this cave. And this is where Apocalypse gets his celestial technology, his celestial tech that he's known to have. And this is, so this is stuff left behind by these deity-like celestials.
Okay, so, that's good to know.
Yeah. So
is that where ship comes from, and his weapons and his armor and stuff? Or is the ship different?
Some of it. I think the celestial tech allowed him to get the ship, if that makes sense. Like, it gave him the ability to call the ship and get it. So that's where that comes from. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Why not?
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So Apocalypse at that point vowed revenge on Rama Tut. So he ends up disguising himself as a slave, entering into Rama Tut's city, and ends up kind of falling in love with Ozymandias' sister Nefri.
Okay.
So, best laid plans, right? I mean, I don't know how many times I've tried to, lay siege onto one of my enemy's strongholds and ended up, seeing a lovely lady and, best laid plans, right, guys? I mean, that's how I met my wife.
Right. Yeah. You just fall in love with your enemy's wife, and she falls in love with you. What are you going to do? You can't. Yeah.
It happens.
Now, does she become Genesis? Because isn't his wife named Genesis?
No, this is not Genesis. So Nefri.
Okay.
No, so Nefri ends up seeing his true features because the disguise kind of he loses disguise at one point, and she rejects him and runs to Ozymandias like, no, this weird alpaca-lipped dude, get him out of here. I don't like this guy. Strange. He's got blue on his face. Something wrong with him. And so that broke his heart. And as most people do, as most reasonable people do when they're heartbroken, he flew into a rage, a murderous rage. And so this allowed his latent mutant abilities to fully emerge. This is when In Sabanur becomes Apocalypse. Right?
Okay.
And so he ends up rampaging. He takes on his current moniker, takes on Apocalypse, the role of Apocalypse at this time. Rama Tut is driven from his city in Sabanur. So Apocalypse uses the celestial tech to turn Ozymandias into like this blind, living stone psychic thing that's enslaved to him. All this stuff is happening. And then years begin to pass after that, after Apocalypse has taken control of the city and he realizes he's no longer aging. He founds the clan Akaba, his acolytes who worship him,
Okay.
So we have the clan Akaba set, which we'll talk about. I don't know if you talked about already, but we'll talk about it.
We have not yet, but we will. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is an order of human sorcerers that he has at his disposal. And their whole goal is to turn themselves into mutants, and we'll get into that in the thing. And so all of that to say that is who Apocalypse became. And then eventually he begins to, as these millennia pass, he is traveling the earth, convincing, almost like this wandering god is what he's presenting himself as. He's convincing these different civilizations that he is a deity. And so a lot of our different myths that pop up through the Marvel universe get or a lot of our real world myths when presented in the Marvel universe are attributed to Apocalypse. And a lot of this information came from a retcon. Like he's been retconned a few times throughout the years. So like all of his backstory and stuff didn't really come about until like the late 90s, early 2000s when this stuff started being added in and he got layered into, more and he got a lot more of his history fleshed out. Because initially, when he first came about in 1986, that was just where he came from, and there wasn't anything there. And then they started kind of layering him into older Marvel happenings, older Marvel historical happenings, kind of saying, he was the actual person who was behind some different villain groups popping up and different atrocities and things that happened like that. So at this point, Apocalypse is traveling the world, convincing everybody he's a god. He has his clan Akaba with him. He encounters the Eternals at one point, makes great friends with them, such great friends that Icarus and Cersei refer to him as their ancient nemesis.
Friends.
Yeah. Yeah. He ends up going in using that celestial tech to go into like periods of suspended animation, because he's kind of waiting. He's waiting for that evolution of the world to occur, to where he can find someone or find a race that is as powerful as he, that he can almost subjugate to then rule and create this powerful new world he wants to create.
And what would he call that? Maybe an age of Apocalypse? Is that
kind of?
He's waiting for that. Okay.
Kind of.
Cool.
Yeah, and he goes through some other stuff. So he throws down with Thor. At one point, he beats up Dracula. Yeah, he beats up Dracula. He throws down with Thor. He fights Exodus. He throws down with Cersei and Icarus a couple times. Dracula, he fights Dracula like 2 or 3 times actually, which was kind of wild. Like Apocalypse and Dracula throw hands quite a bit.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's an odd, okay. I mean, they both, I guess, they're around for a long time. So
Apocalypse teamed up with Van Helsing to fight Dracula. Like, what? That's a hell of a buddy comedy right there.
Yeah, that's a good one. I want to see that. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. So this was when he said, screw this. This is around like 1897. He's like, screw this. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to come back up when mutants are more prevalent. So he kind of awakens at that point. Kind of awakens when we get into our modern era. He ends up waking earlier than he planned, due to some hijinks by Cable. And when he awakens, he begins to kind of just look at the Earth, survey the Earth and see what's happening there and see if these, the mutants have arisen, and they have. And so he has determined, yes, the Earth is ready for further examination and testing. He's a very scientific mind, and that's kind of how he goes about doing what he does. He kind of sees it as this great experiment where we are culling weakness, cultivating excellence, and cultivating strength, and seeing what comes of that. He ends up throwing down with the X-Men and the Avengers. This is when he is introduced. So canonically, this is the point he is introduced in X Factor 5 and 6, and then that run. That's the first kind of showing of Apocalypse, when he gets the Alliance of Evil, and he ends up having his first set of 4 horsemen, all of that.
Okay.
So that being said, the Age of Apocalypse is not the 616 universe.
Right.
And we talked about this in our Prelates show. The Age of Apocalypse is Earth 295, this alternate dimension where Legion, knowing what was going to come, decided to go when it was going to come from Magneto and Xavier's battles, from Magneto deciding he needed to, cull humans, and Magneto doing all the Magneto things, decided he was going to go back in time and destroy Magneto. And when he does,
X-Men Mutant Comics have time stuff. That's shocking to me.
I know, right? It's crazy.
Insane. They've never done that before. Okay.
Not
continue.
one time.
Sorry. Not one time.
Not one time. Multiple times, but not one. Yeah. So Legion, David Haller, is Legion's name, who is not the most mentally stable mutant ever. He is the son of Charles Xavier.
Yeah. Yeah.
He decides that he's going to go back in time to stop Magneto before Magneto can do all the evil that Magneto does.
Sure.
Now, while he's throwing down with Magneto, this is at a time when Magneto and Charles Xavier are kind of buddy-buddy. Like, they're bros.
They're friends still. Okay.
Yeah. And so Charles intervenes, and Legion ends up killing Charles. And when he kills Charles, it removes him from the timeline. That's weird time travel paradoxy stuff.
Rules of
Right?
Marvel time travel. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And it ends up changing a whole lot of that timeline. We end up having a lot of the mutants that we know and love not kind of showing up in this. Seeing that Charles Xavier is dead, the Apocalypse of 295 decides he is going to begin his conquest 10 years earlier. So this takes place Legion kills Charles 10 years before Apocalypse would have initially rallied the Alliance of Evil and done all his stuff.
Okay.
So seeing that Charles is dead, Apocalypse decides, oh, this is the time that I'm going to come in, take control of Earth, and alter everything that happened from this point forward. There's, again, some timey, weird, wimey stuff, some kind of stuff going on. The only mutant that was around at this point that knew that the timeline was funky was our good buddy Bishop. And by good buddy, I mean the meddlesome Bishop.
Time traveling dude. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
chance for him to step up here, right? For the hero side, or to just stay out of things.
So Bishop and Magneto. So Magneto, or Eric Linser, moved by the sacrifice and the death of his good friend Charles, ends up essentially taking on the role of Charles in this world. He brings together the X-Men of this timeline / dimension / whatever it is, and takes on the mantle Magneto at that point.
Okay.
He gets with Bishop, and they end up throwing down against Apocalypse, who Apocalypse in this timeline has his 4 horsemen. He recruits his 4 horsemen. He ends up kind of going on these genocidal cullings of where he's just slaughtering millions of humans and mutants too. He's killing mutants too. He's trying to make sure that no one can undo what he's done. He ends up sending the Infinites. So we've seen the Infinites, Eunice and those guys. He gets these Infinites on his side. He's sending the Infinites out.
Right. He has his prelates, right? Like Sinister is doing his thing, and Dark Beast is mutating things for Apocalypse and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. He has Dark Beast. He has Mr. Sinister. So Apocalypse was actually something I kind of left out. Apocalypse was kind of the one who, with his interference or his mad science, kind of created Mr. Sinister almost. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yep. There's some time stuff with that too. I remember when we talked about.
There's a whole big bunch with the Rama Tut
Yep.
stuff and all that. With the time he gets control of that celestial tech, whole big bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
kind of hand wave some of that. Some of the cool just points of interest for Apocalypse's Age of Apocalypse were the first strike that he laid down was an attempt to seize Cape Citadel. Now, anybody that's an astute reader is going to recognize Cape Citadel as the spot of Magneto's first attack in the 616, right? So this ended up being Apocalypse's first spot he attacked in Age of Apocalypse.
Cool. No Toad though, probably, right?
Probably not. He probably got struck by lightning.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You know what happens to a toad when they get struck by lightning?
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
The same that happens to everybody else.
Do you little side bit about that? Did you know that the reason for that is because? Do you know the reason why that line's in there?
No, you tell me. What did you hear? What do you know?
So this is hearsay. I saw it on like a TikTok or something. The reason why that line was in there is the original version of the script had Toad just constantly quipping about, what a toad, like toad facts, like saying things about toads. When he was fighting, toads can do this, and then he'd do something to hurt somebody or whatever. And so that's why, Storm had that completely out of character, wild ass moment where she made like a funny little saying while she, obliterated a dude.
She's sick of hearing him say toad.
Yeah, she's
You know what happens? You know what about toads? And if they cut out all of that, then leaving her line in there makes no
yeah, because it's the first time anybody's ever said anything about a
toad.
Yeah. But if he'd said a bunch of stuff about toads before, then that makes sense. It makes sense going the same thing that happens to everything else.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Yeah.
Oh well.
All right. So after Cape Citadel, he ended up being, backed off by Magneto and his, that version of the X-Men. So he was not successful in the siege on Cape Citadel. A few years after that, so this war kind of rages on. He ends up like most of North America falls under his grasp. He's made the ruins of New York City the capital of his new empire, and so he is just laying waste to everything around him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read the entire Age of Apocalypse set of stories, and they're pretty good. We talked about reading lists way back, I think maybe for Unis part 2, because there wasn't a whole lot about him. It's good stuff. There's good stories to read. It's interesting to see the different characters in different modes, either being just different style, because Xavier doesn't put the X-Men together, Magneto does, and some of them aren't alive, and some of them have to take on different roles, and the history's changed. It's pretty good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think like Rogue's dead, Silver Samurai's dead.
Rogue is like Magneto's girlfriend or something in it, right?
Is she?
Yeah.
Is she in there? Does she die at some point?
And she might die at some point, but I'm pretty sure she's in part of it. Yeah. Like Wolverine is Weapon X. He never becomes Wolverine, and he has like one of his hands is lopped off, so it's just a adamantium stub or something. Yeah, there's a bunch of, and him and Jean are together, and like Angel runs a place called, I think it's like Elysium or Avalon or Heaven or something like that. It's like a nightclub for neutral people who are still kind of wealthy, and they kind of get left alone for a while.
And we got MODOK as a clone of Charles Xavier too, that's connected to Cerebro, right?
Okay. Yeah, it's weird. There's some weird stuff. Yeah,
all kinds of crazy. I mean, a lot of people die. Most everybody dies by the end of this.
Correct.
Like, it's a brutal run. Like, anybody, don't get attached, guys. If you read this reading list, don't get attached to any of these characters.
Right.
Most everyone dies.
Yeah, it's a good read. It's not super crazy long.
Yeah. Should I spoil the end of it or just kind of leave? I think they're like, Apocalypse has sieged North America. He has control of North America. A lot of people die. A lot of X-Men die. He is absolutely a force to be reckoned with, and he lives up to his name, Apocalypse, and it is an absolutely phenomenal run. I don't know that I want to go too much deeper into it.
No, I think go out and read it, and maybe when we get to the En Sabanur scenario number 5, we will spoil the ends. So you have quite a while, a couple months still, to go out, find, read. So before we get to that,
but it spans. I mean, just about. I think everybody besides Psylocke shows up in this alternate line in some form or fashion. I think Psylocke's the only one that, and I didn't even know Psylocke didn't show up, because I read through. I haven't read this in full. I've read kind of the footnotes. Well, it's a lot of reading, but it's worth it. It's good. But I know Psylocke was the only one when I was doing research for this that it said
like
wasn't,
you don't see her come back. Yeah, right. Yeah.
The initial Age of Apocalypse, so like 95, and then when they revisited it, she comes back in. What's
was it the new Age of Apocalypse or something? Oh,
what's the Agent Psylocke's name? Not Betsy Braddock. Yeah, Quanon.
Quanon.
Yeah. Quanon.
Kwannon. Quanon. Yeah. That is the history of Apocalypse, at least as much as we're going to talk about. Maybe we should talk about this scenario, because we do look at cards. Shall we do that? Are we at that point, Josh?
I think we should.
Folks will have noticed that Daniel has not said a word for a while. He is in a different timeline right now. He may come back. He had some things that happened. He had to just jump off. You and I can handle this.
Yeah.
We're professionals.
We're goddamn professionals.
That's right. All right, so let's look at some of these cards for the
Let's do it.
Age of Apocalypse scenario. So this is out of the Age of Apocalypse box. It is the third scenario in the box, which kind of like a Thanos situation. If you have a big purple guy, you get to play him third in the box. It does require the prelates, and it suggests that you use the Dark Riders modular and the Infinites modular. And we have talked about all of those already. There are only 15 total cards in Apocalypse's set himself. Many of them are double-sided. Tonight, we're going to read 10 faces of the cards, but a lot of these are double-sided, so it's maybe more like 6 cards or something total. We're just going to talk about the base, how this scenario works, and then next week we'll talk a little bit more about Apocalypse and the rest of the cards in the set. Josh, do you want to do the scheme or the villain?
I would love to do the scheme. It's right here in front of me.
There we go.
The Age of Apocalypse. Side 1A of the main scheme has contents Apocalypse 2 and Apocalypse 3. Use 3 only for expert mode. You would use Apocalypse 1 if you want an easier game. You would start at 1 and go 1 to 2 if you want an easier game. Includes Apocalypse, the Prelates, and the standard sets. Then it, like Steve said, suggests including Dark Riders and Infinites. I love the Infinites set, by the way. I think it's fantastic. Just a lot of really fun interactions with your minions that you get coming out there. We're going to set aside each unused villain card, each prelate minion, and the Tyrant's Throne side scheme. We're going to reveal the Heart of the Empire side scheme, and the first player reveals a random set-aside prelate minion. So, we're going to flip that over after we do all that, and we get the Age of Apocalypse side 1B. This has X per player threat as its threshold. It says, the time has come for a direct assault on Apocalypse in his towering citadel. And we know where that citadel is, Steve. It's in New York.
New York. Yeah.
All right.
Where everything is, apparently, in Marvel.
Dude, do you know how it would be to live in New York? Your insurance premiums would be through the friggin' roof.
After the first couple incursions, you would just be like, I got to move. Right?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't, I mean, honestly, there's not really anywhere like super safe. You know, I think Kentucky's the only place that doesn't really have any villains, right? We had the Reavers guy.
Yeah, Donald Pierce or something.
We had Donald
like that,
Pierce.
Right? Donald Pierce, yeah.
That's about it. And we got a hero. You know, we got Cannonball, so that's nice.
Okay, balanced out.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe he can go distract some stuff, but that's untapped market, Steve. That's where we could set up a base, man. I'm just saying. I know you guys got it set up nice here, but if you're ever looking for new duds, I'm sure there's some mines, some abandoned mines around here that you could. I mean, they go underground for miles.
We'll talk about a franchise. Yeah. Okay. All right. Keep going. Yeah.
All right. So X per player for the threshold. X is the numeral in Apocalypse's printed hit point value. So each stage has different hit points, and then whatever his numeral is in the hit point value is what the X per player threshold is going to be on the Age of Apocalypse. So for instance, number 1 has 8 hit points per player, so you'd have 8 per player hit points for your threshold on the main scheme. Forced interrupt. When Apocalypse would be defeated, you discard each attachment from him and heal all damage from him instead. Remove X threat from this scheme, ignoring any crisis icons. It begins with 1 per player threat, and at the beginning of each villain phase is going to add 1 per player threat.
Okay. It doesn't say anything about losing or winning on this scheme. And it does talk about when you're going to defeat him, you're going to do something else instead. So I guess we should look at him and see what we see there.
Where are we going to find out what happens when the scheme busts? We hit our threshold.
Yeah, it's weird they flip-flop this. So yeah, let me read Apocalypse and we'll talk about these two together.
Do it.
Apocalypse 1. Okay, so this is going to be an oddball because there are 4 Apocalypse villain cards.
Apocalypse.
That's right.
Steve.
There's 4 Apocalypse. All right, Apocalypse is a unique villain with 1 scheme, 2 attack. The mutant trait, toughness, force to interrupt. When the main scheme is completed, remove all threat from it, ignoring any crisis icons. Flip this card and reveal Apocalypse 2. Challenge me and be reminded why Apocalypse reigns supreme. 8 hit points per player. Not a whole lot of hit points per player. All right, but then you flip it because this is one of these double-sided cards. And on the back is Apocalypse 2. Unique villain, 2 scheme. 2 attack, mutant, steady and toughness. Forced to interrupt when the main scheme is completed. Remove all threat from it, ignoring crisis icons. Remove this card from the game and reveal Apocalypse 3. You are foolish to oppose me, he says, with 9 hit points per player. Okay, so that will change that X number when you get to 2. But then we're going to move on to 3. Okay, we're moving on to 3. Apocalypse 3, unique villain with 2 scheme, 3 attack. That went up. Mutant, steady, toughness. The same forced interrupt, but instead we're going to flip this card and reveal Apocalypse 4. And he says, this world belongs to me and those I deem worthy. With 10 hit points per player. Okay, here we go. Last one. Apocalypse 4. So, unique villain with 3 scheme, 3 attack, mutant. Now he is stalwart instead of steady. Toughness. Apocalypse's attacks gain overkill. Forced to interrupt. When the main scheme is completed, the players lose the game with 11 health per player.
I really, really like the mechanic of him as a villain in this scenario. I like that you don't necessarily have to be crazy worried about the threat on the main scheme. Like if it's going to pop and you could do something more beneficial than, just preventing it from popping, and he's at one of the initial stages. If you're playing like standard or you're playing the easier one, whatever have you, you have that breathing room there because he can progress. He has a little bit of progression to him. He can go from 1 to 4 in one game.
Right.
He can do that.
If you play let's call it standard light or whatever, because they do say remove, for an easier game, start at 1, because then you have 1 and then 2, then 3, and then finally 4. So the main scheme would have to progress several times. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4 times, right? 4 times for you to lose. Now in a regular standard game, you're starting on level 2, so he can only progress 3 times, right? And then if you're playing on expert, you're supposed to start on level 3, which means he can only progress twice, and then the main scheme can only go twice, and then you would lose. But you're right, you have some breathing room if you're starting on Apocalypse 1 or 2, which is kind of cool. And I like how he just kind of gets a little bit better. It's nothing crazy.
Yeah. Now that final stage with Stalwart and Overkill is the
no
Overkill
joke.
can be rough. Yeah.
Yep.
But if you've let it get to that point, and if you didn't start on expert and let it get to that point, then you're probably gonna lose anyway. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, it's a close call. It's a you're on the edge there. It's interesting because early on, when he's like Apocalypse 1, let's say a solo game, the threat threshold on the main scheme is only an 8. So it's more likely to actually advance earlier than later because that number goes up because the numeral in his hit points dial goes up, right? When you're facing level 4, the threat in the main scheme is an 11 per player. So in a 4-player game, that's 44 threat. So, solo's 11, that's doable. You can flip, you can let him scheme once, you can flip back kind of thing. So,
but Steve, that threat on that main scheme, we were talking about, maybe there's something else you need to worry about because you're going to have the Infinites side scheme out. So you're going to be worrying about that, which is boosting up it's not actually boosting Apocalypse, but it's boosting the Infinite minions that you're dealing with. You have that Prelate out, and then all of your thwarting is going to be going to these 3 side schemes that you're having to progress through.
Wait a minute. There's a side scheme and a Prelate out?
Oh,
you better tell us about this. You better tell us about the side scheme. Okay.
Oh, yeah, Steve. There's a bunch of them, don't you know? Hey,
thanks, Daniel.
For a minute.
Daniel's back. Awesome.
He swung back by. Oh, there he goes
Hot
again.
dish.
Bye, Daniel. Hot dish.
Hot dish. Hot dish coming through. There he goes. Okay.
All right. So our first side scheme that we're going to start with is Heart of the Empire. It's a side scheme. Comes in with 2 threat. Before you can challenge Apocalypse, you must fight your way through his tower. Threat cannot be removed from this scheme while a Prelate minion is in play. That explains that low threat threshold on it.
Yeah.
Right. So we get our first Prelate. We have this as our initial side scheme. When defeated, the first player reveals a random set-aside Prelate minion because we are not going to have a Prelate in play when we defeat this because we can't. Right. Can't remove the threat. We're going to get a random set aside prelate minion, and every other player gets an encounter card, and we're going to flip it over. This also has a single acceleration icon on it.
Yeah, okay.
Now,
So the prelates have victory points, right? We talked about them last week, and
Yeah.
they're all 5 health per player. So they could have 20 health in a 4-player game. They're no joke. We discussed how, they're pretty high quality minions.
Yeah.
One of those is in play. You defeat him. Okay, and then you can pop Heart of the Empire. Then you get another one, and Heart of the Empire is flipped over to something else. What is that other card?
So when Heart of the Empire flips, we've arrived. The Towering Citadel. Side scheme. Has 3 threat. Just 3 threat on it.
Oh.
And guess what, though? Threat cannot be removed from this scheme while a prelate minion is in play. Has 2 acceleration icons, and when defeated, the first player reveals a random set-aside prelate minion. You're going to deal each other player an encounter card, and you're going to reveal the next side scheme and remove Towering Citadel from the game. That next side scheme, if you're cool with me going right into it.
Sure, go for it.
Is the Tyrant's Throne. So this is a side scheme progression. Very much akin to Magneto.
A little bit like Hela.
Yeah,
right?
Hela, Magneto. Very much like Hela, because we have a minion. We're going to have a big
guard minion kind of thing. Yeah.
Scheme, right?
Yep.
It's going to come out. Let's talk about this before I compare it to Magneto.
Yeah.
So the Tyrant's Throne. Side scheme, 4 threat threshold, or 4 threat on the side scheme. Threat cannot be removed while the prelate's in play. And then when you defeat it, you're going to flip out your final prelate, because you're only using 4. You're not going all 5, right?
Oh, little random. Every game's a little different.
Yeah. So you're going to see 4 prelates, not all 5. So you will have a little bit of randomness there. You will always start with Mr. Sinister. That always happens.
No, I get Abyss. I always end up with Abyss.
You get Abyss first?
Yes. And then Abyss gets the healthy, eats my... I'm not ready to defend, and he gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. All right, go on.
We get that retaliate out that we can't throw any allies at, and it sucks. So when defeated, first player reveals a random set-aside prelate. We deal every other player an encounter card, and we flip this card over and reveal the card No Longer Worthy. Tyrant's Throne has 3 acceleration icons. So as you progress through these side schemes, you're adding more and more threat per turn to the main scheme, making it more and more likely that main scheme's going to pop, and Apocalypse is going to, quote unquote, evolve into his next form. He's going to be getting stronger. He works on himself. He's like that. He's in the self-help.
Yeah, definitely.
Progress.
So 3 accelerations, like brutal in the solo game, right?
It's real rough.
You have to. Oh my goodness! All right, before we talk anymore, there's one more card. Let me read this last card, that it has flipped to, because Josh, I have found that Daniel is no longer worthy, and that's why he's gone. That's why he's out. And this is an attachment. So we flipped the Tyrant's Throne to no longer worthy. It is a condition attachment attached to Apocalypse, and heal 5 per player damage from him. Hey, there's a healing with a per player. We've been complaining about that forever. He cannot take damage while a prelate minion is in play. Interesting. Ignore the forced interrupt on the main scheme. Forced to interrupt when Apocalypse is defeated. The players win the game. Okay. So there's you're talking Magneto, right? You have to make him...
Yeah.
You have to make him vulnerable. You have to make him doubt himself. You advance through the side schemes. This comes out, heals him. There's a prelate guard effectively in play, and you're no longer doing the Age of Apocalypse main scheme ability, which is when he would be defeated, discard the attachments, blah, 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 heal damage, remove threat. So you're no longer, it's just, okay, if you defeat him, he's defeated now, is what it's telling you, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is cool.
I like it a lot. I like the progression stuff. I really, Magneto's one of the best balanced encounters in the game. And so, I was really excited about this one when we saw the mechanics of it and how it works out. It is a little long.
Yeah.
Those prelates, they extend the game a little bit.
Right, because if you're playing 4-player and you have to defeat 4 prelates, that's 80 health right there. Then then you have to defeat at least one version of Apocalypse, right? And maybe you have to defeat level 2 Apocalypse, let's say. So it's 9 per player. There's another 27. So you're at 107 health you've got to defeat in order to win. That does not include all the infinite minions, all the Dark Rider minions, right? It's a lot of damage that has to be dished out. So
yeah, you're getting there's a lot to deal with going on
Yeah.
in this. And for a third, I mean, it is Apocalypse, right? Like
right.
it should have some grandiosity to it. It should feel like an epic fight. I think sometimes those prelates can be like, they can be like a hair in a biscuit, man. Like they just hang in there, and it extends this scenario, especially in solo.
They're almost worse than he is sometimes. So yeah, solo, yeah, it's odd because a 5 health minion in solo isn't like, it's not insane 5 health, right? But like I don't know, they're just good, and then this guy, and there's just a lot going on. It feels like so.
It's not only like finding finding the damage. It's finding the damage and balancing the amount of threat that's going out on everything. I really like the design space and the design decision to make those side schemes such low threat thresholds. Like that is really good. I think that was really good. It would have been awful, like so bad if they had been per player.
Yep.
I feel like because your per player
because
difficulty comes with the prelate health.
Yep.
You know, that's where you're getting that per player scaling. And these just being that, okay, I'll exhaust a hero or a hero and an ally, or like one event is enough to take it out. But in solo, you know, having the resources we're worrying about the infinites, we're worrying about the main scheme, we're worrying about dealing damage to the prelate, dealing damage to an infinite minion, dealing damage to the Dark Riders, dealing damage to Apocalypse to try to pull the threat off the main scheme.
Or to just remove some of the attachments that he's going to have on him, which we'll talk about next week. Which is similar to Hela, right? Or even the Collector, I think, right? You defeat them, they flip. There's like, you defeat them and you can pull off a bunch of their stuff. So you got to defeat him so you can pull off a bunch of their stuff.
It is not a solo friendly scenario, and especially on expert. Like it is brutal on expert solo. I've played it once, and I don't think I'll ever play it on expert again in solo.
In solo, yeah. No, I agree. It is definitely a very difficult solo scenario. The going back to the low threat threshold too, I found you have to like time when you're going to clear the side scheme, because then you know another prelate minion's coming out. Mm-hmm. And having it so low, it's like, well, I'll just clear it. It's okay. I'll pop, and then then Sugar Man shows up. You're like, wait, I should not have cleared that side scheme.
It's like Hela, right? You have to game. I mean, it works very much like Hela, and Magneto, I think, is better than this or Hela in that you can't game Magneto like that. Like, you really need to progress through that because of what Magneto does with his main schemes.
Right. You want to be ahead of him on the main.
Yeah. It really encourages you to kind of sit on that Heart of the Empire point and kill your prelate, and then just build and try to keep that, the main scheme low. Hopefully you don't get a ton of acceleration icons out that, get you an unlucky pop and he keeps progressing, and try to build. So that way you can, the turn those prelates come out, deal with the prelate, get rid of a side scheme, and maybe even 2 prelates if you're running the deck that I ran was this, Captain America Ally Swarm. And I was able to, luckily on the turn I won, get rid of, multiple prelates and multiple of these schemes in one turn.
Yeah, because when you get to the Tyrant's Throne and it's putting 3 acceleration tokens, you're playing solo, so you're putting 4 out.
Yeah.
Minimum. If somehow you're on 1 or 2, that there's only 5 threat left, right? It's very difficult to flip to alter ego at that point. Even if you're on Apocalypse 4, he has the main scheme is an 11, but you're putting 4 threat out. That's only a 7. He schemes for 3. You're down to a 4. So like maybe you can get away with it, but not if you have a minion who's also going to scheme. So then your health is really low because he's got overkill, or he's just hitting. He's attacking for 2s and 3s, so you might need a flip. But if you flip, there's 3 acceleration tokens. Yeah, it's very difficult in solo. And it should be. It's Apocalypse, right? Yeah. but in 4-player, like we were saying, it's so long. This is a really good like 2-player scenario. 2 players is pretty good for this one, I think.
Yeah, I get 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I've
There's
played
enough
it.
there's enough breathing room for one person to flip down and then
I've
come
played
back.
it at all player counts.
Cowards.
I've played it at 4 players more than I've played it at anything.
Oh wow,
And
okay.
it is so long. It is such a long scenario.
Sort of like this episode of the show. It's a very long issue today.
But it's a fun scenario, just this episode
just
of the
like
show.
this episode. Yes, it is a fun episode. Okay, all right. That is all the basic setup for Apocalypse. We have talked about his lore. We have talked about the setup cards. I think we got to reserve a little more judgment and comments after we go through the remaining encounter cards next week. I think there's like 6 of them by title next week we're going to talk about, and maybe we can get Daniel will be back for that. Maybe not. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. Are we good? You think we should move on? Let's move on.
I think we're good. I think we're good
Okay.
to begin the Age of Apocalypse.
The beginning of the
Age,
age.
yes.
Well, all right, folks. If you have some thoughts on the Age of Apocalypse or other Apocalypse reading beyond the Age of Apocalypse that you think we should share with our listeners, please reach out to us. You can let us know by emailing us at criticalencounterspod@gmail.com. We're Critical Encounters on Facebook. You can find our YouTube, Twitch, or Patreon by searching for Critical Encounters Podcast. And on Discord, we're Vardane, Big Foam Loaf, and Winkster. If you like our show, tell your friends. If you don't like our show, tell your enemies. Apocalypse, take us out.
I will cleanse this world with fire. Only the strong will survive.
Kind of a sound like that.